go live. We're going live. Yes, we are. We're going live. Yes, we are. We're going. Look at all the people. Yeah, yeah. Look at all the people. Look at. Ellie, look over here. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Just letting Lily share the spotlight for a few minutes. Yeah. Lily. Hey, come on. Lily. You want to say hi to the people? You don't want to. Okay. You're camera shy? Are you camera shy? Can you smile for the people? Mm, okay. All right. Let's let you get back to your own chair. Hey, show them your beautiful face. Yeah, look how pretty. Okay. All right. To your chair. Thought I'd give you guys a treat and you wouldn't have to look at my mug, my face. But she's camera shy. All right. So we'll just wait a few minutes, but this is a very quick impromptu live show because so many people are wondering why the hell Dr. Fauci is pleading the fifth on so much when he should have nothing to hide. And indeed, I don't think he does have anything to hide. We're going to wait for a little bit to let people get situated. Hello, you are that guy 24/7. Which guy in particular are you 24/7? Sue, thank you for that question. Yes, yeah, I'm fine, actually. I have a really rare immune condition, and there are 2 versions of that condition, and the one I have, thank goodness, is, relatively speaking, relatively benign. However, the other version is it attacks your organs and is always fatal. And we know now, we had always assumed, but now we know for certain that if I am exposed to COVID, because COVID also attacks your organs, it could trigger the other version in me or cause the version I have to convert to that other version. And so I have to just be very careful to never, ever, ever be exposed to COVID, which of course means pretty much not going anywhere because people are walking around with COVID all over the place, even when it's at relatively low levels. So the isolation is to keep me safe. And I was so lucky, I was diagnosed in January of 2020. So we already knew when COVID hit Colorado in March of 2020 that I was going to have to go into isolation. So thank you for asking. But yeah, the irony is I'm really healthy. I work out 5 days a week. I eat really well. I'm very healthy other than that pesky immune condition. So again, welcome everybody. This was an impromptu live show because I wrote up something about Fauci claiming the Fifth Amendment, and it's just blowing up, especially on Facebook. It's just so many people have had the questions or have seen misinformation, uh, you know, uh, typically right. Sorry, I'm laughing at Jessica's question. I'll tell you in a minute. Typically ones on the right or people who are ignorant, but I repeat myself, saying, "Well, now we know he's got something to hide. He's guilty." But no, that is not the case. So I will explain that in a few minutes. Jessica, the tofu was wonderful. So, for anyone who cares, I posted that I had invented a tandoori tofu recipe. and I have this really cool new air fryer, and I'm just filling time now so people can get in and hear the Fauci explanation, so bear with me. I have recently started really a real concerted effort to get plastics out of my kitchen, and particularly plastics that touch food. And so, I actually posted these as they happened on Facebook. I found this amazing electric kettle that is all metal, no plastic touches the water at all, and a bonus, it even has a thermometer embedded in the side so you can see what temperature the water inside is getting to. And then that was followed by a high-speed blender that has a glass jar, which is kind of the holy grail for foodies, because Vitamix is considered the OG of high-speed blenders, and rightly so, but if you don't want a plastic pitcher for your Vitamix, then you have to buy this very expensive stainless steel pitcher, which also means you can't see what's going on inside, and then just a few months ago, I stumbled across a high-speed blender where the pitcher is borosilicate glass and no plastic touches the food, and on top of it, it has a built-in, heater on the bottom, a conduction heater so that you can heat food in it as you're blending it and that sort of thing. So, um anyway, all of that to say, I now have an air fryer that actually has a glass basket. So it's not, coated with a nonstick coating. It's not plastic at all. It actually looks like one of those standard Pyrex 9 by 13 casserole dishes, but it is the basket of this air fryer. And I was looking at it and I thought, huh, I bet this would fit a skewer of tofu, and thus that's how that all happened. So yes, thank you, Jessica. The tandoori tofu was delicious, and I don't know if you saw, but I did post the recipe on my site for those of you who don't know. Here's here's a riddle. How can you tell if someone is a vegan? You don't have to worry about it, they'll tell you. So I'm vegan and I have to be gluten-free, and so I have a recipe website at thehappyglutenfreevegan.com. The thing I am most proud about that recipe site is that, don't you hate those of you who go to recipe sites and who are foodies, don't you hate it when you go to a recipe site and it's like pop up here and pop up there and video pop up here and, oh, I hate that. So I'm really proud of the fact that it's just mostly a plain text website. I don't put affiliate links on it. There is one pop-up that comes up that says, "Hey, if you really like this, if you want to donate something to the coffee fund," but that's it. Anyway, uh, way more than you guys probably wanted to know about that, but again, I am filling time. So, all right, let's get started. Dr. Anthony Fauci. Love the guy, hate the guy. I don't know why anyone would hate him, but regardless, you have got to admit he has done an awful lot of good. He was at the forefront of the AIDS epidemic and figuring out what was going on there. And likewise, he was at the fore of the COVID when the pandemic started. And he was dealing with a very oppositional boss. So, anyway, at the end of Biden's term, as he was outgoing, he issued a lot of blanket pardons to a lot of people, and Anthony Fauci was one of them. And it wasn't because he thought Fauci had done anything wrong. It was because he knew the incoming president was going to go after his perceived enemies. And so the best way that President Biden could protect those people who had served in his administration, whoever they were, whatever they did, they were, in the crosshairs, in Trump's crosshairs. The best way to protect them was to issue them blanket pardons, and he did that, including for Dr. Fauci. Well, Rand Paul, for whatever reason, has always had a hard-on for Fauci, and I don't mean in the good way. And he has been trying to pin something on him. I don't know what his beef is with him, to be perfectly honest, but this has been the case. So Then these diary entries get released, and Rand Paul says, "Aha, we're going to have a hearing with Dr. Fauci." And as I understand this part of it was because in the beginning, and you have to remember that, January of 2020, even the very last bit of 2019, when COVID was just starting to emerge over here, nobody had any idea about its origin or how deadly it was. Nobody knew anything. And they were all just doing the best that they could to get ahead of it, which they couldn't. I mean, I'm sure we all remember the images of the refrigerator trucks in New York City, and I mean, it was just awful, and I think people don't remember that. I think people have forgotten how deadly this illness is still, just not as much, and in part that's well, we're not even gonna get into the whole vaccination discussion because we're not. But anyway, so in those diaries, as I understand it, one of the things that Fauci was saying was, first he wrote that he was pretty sure it came from the wet market over in Wuhan. And then apparently there was an entry that said something like, and I'm quoting from a radio coverage that I heard, so it may not be the exact quote, but the gist of it was, now we're not so sure whether the primary vector was a wet market, which could mean anything. It certainly doesn't mean we think it was developed in a lab, and it doesn't not mean that. It basically means we're scientists, we have a hypothesis, and now we are changing that hypothesis because we're not sure. But Rand Paul seized on passages like that and subpoenaed Fauci to come in. Here's the thing. Well, here's a couple of things. Fauci has already testified under oath about all of this previously. It's very clear that the reason Rand Paul is bringing him back in and is asking him these questions is because he wants to trip Fauci up. Remember, those of you who have been with me a while, I've explained that one of the tactics that in a court, for example, one side will use against the other side, and this is the same in a congressional hearing, one of the tactics is called impeaching with their prior testimony. So in this context, what Rand Paul is almost certainly trying to do is to get Fauci to contradict one of the previous statements that he had made under oath. He was under oath then, he's under oath now. And the thing is that if Fauci makes a statement, even if it's just a tiny bit different, then Rand Paul will seize on it and say, aha, were you lying then or are you lying now? In which case, I believe with Fauci, he wouldn't have been lying either time, but he just worded it a little bit differently. And lying to Congress under oath is a very serious offense. And the blanket pardon that Biden gave him does not cover lying under oath. So the safest thing that Fauci can do under this assault on his integrity is to plead the Fifth Amendment so that he doesn't say something that is reworded in a way now under oath that might be taken to not exactly mean the same thing that he said previously under oath. So I don't blame his lawyers at all for telling him to just plead the Fifth. And they had to know that that was the optics of that for people who wanted to slam Fauci were going to be, well, if he didn't have anything, didn't do anything wrong, why is he pleading the Fifth Amendment? Well, he's pleading the Fifth Amendment not to cover up his guilt, it's to protect his innocence. So, any questions? Wow, that I must be amazing at explaining stuff because I don't see any questions. Not really. Okay, like I said, this was going to be a very quick show. I didn't mean to intrude on your afternoon, but there's so many people asking so many questions that I really wanted to get this out ahead of time, or get ahead of it, or give you guys the information so that you understand pretty clearly. So when you're seeing the misinformation, if you want to, you can combat it. You guys just absolutely rock. I just appreciate you all so much. And to my Notes from the Front members, again, as I will tell you over and over, it may be just $5 to you, but your $5 a month is what enables me to do this. It enables me to purchase the documents. It enables me to spend the time going and digging the documents out. Um, Thank you from the bottom of my heart. But thank you to everyone who is here. And if you aren't subscribed to me, which is free to do, I really hope that you will consider subscribing to me. I know a lot of people have a lot of subscriptions now, then they can't keep up with reading them all. But subscribing to me is the only way to be sure that you get all of my legal updates from the front. So I would be delighted to welcome you if you're not already there. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful evening, afternoon, morning, wherever in the world you are. And I'm guessing I'll see some of you tomorrow. Bye for now.